Right now, inside your body, something is happening every single morning that is either silently burning fat and building strength or quietly doing the opposite. And the difference comes down to one decision you make before 9 a.m. It has nothing to do with eating less. It has nothing to do with willpower. And it is not the advice you have been given before. What almost nobody understands is that the body after 50 responds to breakfast in a completely different way than it did at 30 or 40. And eating the wrong thing, even something that sounds healthy, can trigger a hormonal chain reaction that locks in belly fat, drains your energy by midday, and slowly chips away at the muscle that keeps you strong, independent, and mobile. This video is going to explain exactly what is happening inside your body, what the biggest mistakes are, and what the best high-protein breakfast after 50 actually looks like for real fat loss and all-day energy. Stay until the end, because the final point is the one that quietly cancels every effort you are already making, and almost nobody is talking about it. Let's start with something that very few people are told when they turn 50. Inside your skeletal muscles, the muscles attached to your bones that help you walk, climb stairs, carry groceries, and get up from a chair, and there is a biological process that begins to slow down in a way that feels invisible at first. It is called muscle protein synthesis. In simple terms, it is your body's ability to build and repair muscle. And after 50, that ability starts to decline in a way that accelerates quietly year after year. Researchers call the condition sarcopenia, age-related muscle loss, and it affects nearly every person who crosses into their 50s without realizing it. You may notice it as weakness in the legs, less stamina when walking, difficulty carrying things, or a general feeling that your body is working harder to do the same tasks it used to handle easily. What connects this directly to breakfast is something called the muscle protein synthesis window in the morning. After a full night of sleep, your body has been fasting for 7 to 9 hours. During that time, it has been using stored fuel to run your heart, your brain, your immune system, and your organs. By the time you wake up, your muscle tissue is in a state of repair demand. It is signaling for amino acids, the building blocks of protein, and the raw material your body needs to maintain and protect your muscle. If breakfast does not deliver sufficient protein in the morning, your body does the only thing it can. It begins to break down existing muscle tissue to extract those amino acids. This is called muscle catabolism, and it happens silently, painlessly, and repeatedly in people who eat low-protein breakfast every day. Over months and years, this adds up to real, measurable muscle loss. And here is the direct connection to fat that almost nobody explains clearly. Muscle is your body's most metabolically active tissue. The more of it you have, the more calories your body burns at rest. When muscle declines, your metabolic rate drops, fat accumulates more easily, energy drops, and no matter how carefully you eat, your body holds on to fat because it no longer has the metabolic engine to burn it efficiently. A high-protein breakfast after 50 is not simply about staying full. It is about sending your body the right biological signal at exactly the right time. Now, here is where most people make the mistake. They look at breakfast and think about calories. They count what goes in and assume that if the number is low enough, fat loss will follow. But the body does not work in simple addition and subtraction, especially after 50. The body responds to signals. And the most powerful morning signal is not calorie count, it is protein content. Research published in major nutrition journals has consistently shown that older adults require significantly more dietary protein per meal than younger adults to trigger the same muscle-protecting response. The reason is called anabolic resistance. As the body ages, it becomes less sensitive to the amino acid signals that tell muscle to grow and repair. This means a young person might need only 20 grams of protein at breakfast to stimulate muscle protein synthesis, but a person over 50 may need closer to 35 to 40 grams at that same meal to get the same response. This is a critical number that changes everything. If you are eating yogurt and a piece of fruit for breakfast, you are likely getting somewhere between 5 and 12 grams of protein, far below the threshold your aging muscles actually need. And the consequences show up in ways most people never connect to breakfast. You feel hungry again within 2 hours. Your energy crashes before lunch. You reach for something sweet, something quick. Because your blood sugar has spiked and dropped in response to a high carbohydrate, low protein meal. Your brain feels foggy, your mood dips, your focus scatters. And by the time you eat a proper meal later in the day, your muscles have already been in a catabolic state for hours. This cycle repeats day after day, year after year, and it is one of the primary reasons people in their 50s feel like their body has changed on them. When in truth, their body has not changed randomly. It has responded exactly to what it has been given. This is where blood sugar becomes absolutely central, and this is the part almost nobody talks about clearly. When you eat a breakfast heavy in refined carbohydrates and light in protein, think toast, cereal, pastries, juice, or even granola, your blood glucose rises sharply and quickly. In response, your pancreas releases insulin. Insulin's job is to move that glucose out of the bloodstream and into your cells for energy. But here is the problem. After 50, many people have developed some degree of insulin resistance. The cells have become less responsive to insulin's signal, so the pancreas has to release more and more of it to do the same job. High circulating insulin is a powerful fat storage signal. It tells your fat cells to hold on to what they have and take in more. It suppresses the hormones that allow fat burning, and it leaves you in a relentless cycle of energy spikes and crashes that drives overeating by mid-afternoon. A high-protein breakfast interrupts this cycle at the very beginning of the day. Protein digests slowly. It causes a much gentler, more controlled rise in blood glucose. It reduces the insulin spike. And it keeps your body in a stable, fat-burning state for hours longer than any carbohydrate-heavy meal ever could. But the real surprise comes next. Protein does not just affect your muscles and blood sugar. It directly influences two of the most powerful hunger-regulating hormones in your body, ghrelin and GLP-1. Ghrelin is the hormone that creates feelings of hunger. It rises when your stomach is empty and falls when you are satisfied. GLP-1, released from your gut, signals fullness to your brain and slows the movement of food through your digestive system, which controls how quickly glucose enters your bloodstream. Studies have shown that a high-protein breakfast significantly suppresses ghrelin for hours after eating and dramatically increases GLP-1 secretion. In practical terms, you feel genuinely satisfied after breakfast, not just temporarily full. You don't think about food every 90 minutes. You do not feel that restless, irritable hunger that drives people toward the wrong foods. You eat less overall during the day, not because you are trying to, but because your body's hormonal environment simply no longer demands excess food. This is one of the most powerful and underused fat loss tools available to anyone over 50, and it requires no medication and costs nothing extra. Now, here is why this matters more after 50 in the context of where fat collects. Many people notice that after their 50th birthday, fat begins to accumulate differently. It gathers around the abdomen, even in people who were never heavy before. This change is driven largely by hormonal shifts. In women, declining estrogen alters fat distribution, moving it toward the belly. In men, declining testosterone has a similar effect. Abdominal fat, the fat stored around the organs, which doctors call visceral fat, is not simply a cosmetic issue. It is metabolically active in a damaging way. It releases inflammatory compounds that circulate in the blood and raise the risk of heart disease, type 2 diabetes, cognitive decline, and joint inflammation. It also worsens insulin resistance, which compounds the blood sugar cycle described earlier. A high-protein breakfast, by controlling insulin, reducing appetite, preserving muscle mass, and supporting metabolic rate, directly addresses the conditions that drive visceral fat accumulation. It is not a quick fix, but it is one of the most consistent, evidence-backed dietary habits for reducing abdominal fat in older adults when practiced daily over time. The myth that holds a lot of people back deserves a direct answer here. There is a widespread belief, especially among women over 50, that eating more protein means gaining bulk, looking too muscular, or putting unnecessary strain on the kidneys. The truth is that none of these concerns apply to the protein amounts being discussed. Eating 35 to 40 grams of protein at breakfast will not make anyone look like a bodybuilder. After 50, the opposite of this fear is the real danger. Without adequate protein, muscles shrink, metabolism slows, body fat increases, and physical independence, the ability to stand, walk, lift, and live without assistance, gradually erodes. As for kidneys, current research is clear. In people with healthy kidney function, higher protein intake does not damage the kidneys. This belief originated from studies on people who already had kidney disease, where protein restriction is medically appropriate. For healthy older adults, adequate protein is not only safe, it is essential for protecting long-term health. If there is any concern about kidney function, a simple blood test with your doctor can confirm it. But for the vast majority of people over 50, the real danger is not eating too much protein. It is consistently eating far too little. Here is what the actual best high-protein breakfast after 50 looks like in practice. The goal is to build a breakfast that delivers 35 to 40 grams of quality protein, includes some healthy fat to support hormone production and brain function, and keeps refined carbohydrates controlled enough to prevent an insulin spike. Eggs are one of the most complete and bioavailable protein sources available. 3 whole eggs deliver approximately 18 to 21 grams of protein and contain all 9 essential amino acids, the amino acids your body cannot produce on its own. Pairing eggs with Greek yogurt, cottage cheese, or a high-quality protein powder easily brings the total to the 35 to 40 gram range. Smoked salmon is another excellent choice. It provides protein alongside omega-3 fatty acids that reduce inflammation, support heart health, and protect brain tissue. A breakfast of 2 scrambled eggs with smoked salmon, a side of cottage cheese, and a handful of spinach or cherry tomatoes delivers between 35 and 45 grams of protein, takes under 10 minutes to prepare, and provides a nutritional foundation that supports the body in every way discussed here. Lean turkey and chicken, often thought of only as lunch or dinner proteins, work equally well at breakfast. The body does not check the time, it only responds to what it receives. If that surprised you, the next point is even more important, and it is the big mistake that cancels everything. Many people who decide to increase their breakfast protein make a simple error that undermines every benefit. They add protein but do not change the carbohydrates. So instead of a bowl of cereal, they eat a bowl of cereal with a protein shake on the side. They still trigger the insulin spike from the cereal. They still get the blood glucose crash. And the protein, rather than being used for muscle repair, ends up being converted to glucose through a process called gluconeogenesis, because the body already has more sugar from the cereal than it needs and burns protein as fuel instead of saving it for muscle. The principle to understand is this. A high-protein breakfast only delivers its full benefits when refined carbohydrates are significantly reduced at the same meal. This does not mean zero carbohydrates. Fibrous vegetables, berries, and small amounts of whole grains work well, but processed sugars, refined starches, and liquid calories, especially fruit juices, which many people genuinely believe are healthy, create the hormonal environment that cancels the benefits of protein entirely. Here is the bonus tip that makes everything significantly more effective. The timing of your first protein-rich meal matters more than most people realize. Research on muscle protein synthesis in older adults has found that the muscle-protecting response to protein is strongest when it is consumed within 60 to 90 minutes of waking. This is the window when your muscles are most sensitive to amino acid signals, and when the anabolic resistance that naturally comes with age is temporarily at its lowest. Waiting until late morning, eating only a small snack, or skipping breakfast and compensating at lunch means your muscles have already spent hours in a repair deficit. Even if your overall daily protein intake is adequate, the timing within the day determines whether your muscles receive the signal they need to stay strong. Eating your high-protein breakfast within that first hour of waking is one of the simplest and most powerful upgrades a person over 50 can make, and it costs nothing to implement starting tomorrow morning. There is also a direct connection between this breakfast strategy and brain health that deserves its own moment. The brain is the most energy-demanding organ in the body. It runs almost entirely on glucose, but it requires a steady, controlled supply, not the sharp spikes and crashes that come from carbohydrate-heavy meals. A high-protein, lower glycemic breakfast provides the brain with consistent, even fuel throughout the morning. Beyond glucose, protein delivers amino acids that are precursors to neurotransmitters, the chemical messengers that govern mood, memory, focus, and motivation. Tryptophan, found in eggs, turkey, and dairy, is a precursor to serotonin, the neurotransmitter most associated with feelings of calm and emotional stability. Tyrosine, found in similar protein-rich foods, is a precursor to dopamine, the neurotransmitter associated with motivation and drive. People who eat high-protein breakfasts consistently report better mental clarity in the morning, more stable mood throughout the day, and significantly reduced sugar cravings in the afternoon. That is not a coincidence. That is biochemistry working exactly as it should. And it connects to sleep, which completes a circle that most people never see until it is pointed out to them. Poor blood sugar control during the day, driven by high carbohydrate, low protein meals, creates cortisol spikes in the late afternoon and evening. Cortisol is the body's primary stress hormone, and elevated cortisol at night directly interferes with melatonin production, the hormone that governs sleep. Poor sleep, in turn, raises cortisol the following morning, increases insulin resistance, spikes hunger hormones, and makes the brain crave high-calorie foods from the moment you open your eyes. This is a cycle that starts at breakfast and ends at 3 a.m. And breaking it at breakfast is the most powerful and practical intervention available. This is what makes the breakfast decision after 50 far more significant than most people ever realize. It is not just one meal. It is the hormonal environment you create at the start of every day. And that environment either supports or quietly undermines everything else you are trying to do. The movement, the healthy eating later in the day, the sleep at night, the mental sharpness, the energy to live fully, and the physical independence that matters more and more with every passing year. Here is what to carry with you from this video. After 50, your body needs significantly more protein at breakfast than most nutrition advice reflects. The target is 35 to 40 grams. That amount protects muscle mass, controls blood sugar and insulin, reduces hunger hormones, supports brain chemistry, stabilizes energy throughout the day, and reduces the visceral fat accumulation that drives serious health risk. The best choices are eggs, Greek yogurt, cottage cheese, smoked salmon, lean turkey, and high-quality protein powder, combined in ways that make breakfast genuinely satisfying. Refined carbohydrates at the same meal undermine everything protein does, so they must be minimized. And the window within the first 60 to 90 minutes of waking is when this breakfast delivers its most powerful effect. None of this is complicated. None of it requires extreme diets, expensive supplements, or extraordinary willpower. It requires understanding what is actually happening inside your body and making one consistent decision every morning that works with your biology instead of against it. Your body after 50 is not broken. It is not working against you. It is responding exactly to the signals it receives, and you have the ability to change those signals starting with your very next breakfast. Now here's a question for the comments. What does your current breakfast actually look like right now? Drop it below, even if it is just coffee and toast, because your answer might help someone else in this community recognize something important about their own morning routine. If this video gave you something you did not know before, please give it a like. It helps more people over 50 find this information when they need it most. Subscribe if you have not already, because every week there is new science-based content made specifically for people who want to age stronger, leaner, and with more energy. And watch the next video on this channel, because it covers the one evening habit that works directly alongside this breakfast strategy to make fat loss after 50 significantly faster and more consistent.